of TOSCA Automation Challenge series of obstacle videos. Today we are going to take a look at 64161, a hard automation problem with the name not a table. Okay, so let's take a look at this first, what the problem statement is. So basically it wants us to click on this particular button to generate certain column which will be called as order ID, and once that is available here we will get some number, and that we have to put it here to solve our automation problem correctly. That's what this says. In case you want to read it, you can read it. So if I click on this, you see this particular field was not available. Now this field can be added randomly at any point in time, and whatever value it is generating I need to type it here. So it's always better that you solve the problem once manually just to understand the steps correctly. Okay, so this is what is happening. What I'll do is I'll again click on generate order ID, and I'll first capture all the required elements. Why I did that is because order ID is only getting generated once I click on this particular button. So I have order ID here. Now I'll go to my TOSCA modules and I'll right click and I'll click on scan application. I would suggest pause this video for a moment, think about the logic and the approach you are going to use to solve this problem, and then take a look at the remaining part of the video. So our scanner is loaded. Let's first capture the required elements. So first I want to click on this, so I'll capture this. Okay. Second, I want to capture this order ID and this. So I'll capture this, I'll capture this. Okay. And then I have to put it here, so I'll click on this. Okay, I don't have to click on any submit button or something, so I'm good here. Okay, now I'll take a look at the properties here. Okay, so first I have to click on generate order ID. So this is, everything is unique, but I'll just take a look at the properties. So ID, this is fine. Getting order ID, this particular table is fine, offer ID and text. But here if you take a look at the number which has got generated, it is basically using this particular value which is going to keep changing, so I cannot use that. So I'll deselect this property, and my item is becoming not unique. Okay, now since this is going to change every time, but the order ID is always going to say as order ID, what I'll do is I will anchor it out to this particular value. Okay, so maybe if you want I can change this to order value to make it more sense. Okay, and in order to make it unique, I'll click on identify by anchor, and I will drag and drop this thing here, and hopefully that should make it unique. Okay, so it is unique now. Now I'll just not a table, I'll just save this module. Okay, now there are several approaches to solving an automation problem. So if you have another approach, well and good if you're able to solve it. This is just one of the approaches I'm sharing. Okay, so first thing is we have to click on generate order ID. So what I can do is I can maybe create several steps, and I can put this first and then the other steps later, or I can move it here as well. So if I want, I can move this here, because this is the first thing I need to do, and then I need to fetch the value, and then I need to do this. So using this I'll be able to work with a single step, so that's why I've done that. Now I will move this to my test cases section. Okay, and we'll get started with creating our approach. Okay, so first thing is we want to click on generate order ID. So I'll pass a click statement here. Okay, second thing is I want to fetch this value, right? I want to buffer this value, so in order to put it in this particular section. So what I'll do is this particular section is actually taking my value, so I'll do buffer here, and I can call it anything. Maybe I'll put order value. Okay, and that particular value I have to put it in this text box. So I'll do a input, and I will pass this value. So I'll put curly brackets b square brackets order value, and close this and close this. Okay, now let's run this and see if this works. If not, we'll fix what the problem is going to happen. Okay, so first it should click on this and then generate another order ID which could be placed anywhere, and then it is going to paste it there. Let's see how this performs. So it is clicking on this. Our order ID is generated in the third last column and it is failing. So we'll take a look at this, what problem has happened here. Okay. So if you take a look at this, it is saying this particular container does not have any default property to read from. Okay. So we have basically anchored this out and we saw that our actual value is coming in the inner text. So if you run into these type of cases, what we do is, instead of just buffering it like this, what we can do is we can click on this and we can say from which property to fetch the value. Since when we were scanning, it was coming in inner text and putting it here, but you can use any property which is actually capturing that value. Okay. Now we'll run this again. We'll run in one more problem after this, which I'll explain you how to resolve. So you see the order ID is in the third last column, but now it will again change, and you see this is the order ID which is generated and it has pasted here, but we have not got the solution, or we have not got the pop-up which says that our automation problem is resolved. However, we have pasted this correctly. Okay. Now these type of situations you might come across if the element is designed in that particular way, that the way you're entering the input, it is not accepting. So we have put it here, but somehow it is not understanding that. Okay. So when we copy paste something, uh, or when we type something, it depends how this particular text is performing. Okay. So there are two different ways to tackle this. I'll show you both the ways. One is called as fire event. Okay. So what we can do is I can go to this particular module attribute. Okay. And here I go to properties. Okay. So in properties, you will always see that there are some steering parameters. Steering parameters basically how to steer the application, right? So you will see fire event change here. Okay. If I change this to input, if I change this to input and now try to run this, it should work. Okay. And I'll show you another solution as well to this without changing the fire event. Okay. So let's first see if this works or not. So clicking on this, value is getting generated and our automation problem is solved. So this is how you can handle uh, by changing the fire event to input mode. Okay. Now let's say we don't want to do that. Okay. What we can do is I can go here, right click, jump to the module attribute, and I'll change this back to change, which was initially here. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll go to my test cases. Okay. Now when I put the value like this, it actually copy paste exactly like that. But if I use send keys, what happens is each and every value is going to get typed one by one. Okay. So let's say the order ID which is generated is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So what will happen is if I use send keys, it is going to go 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Okay. You may come across this kind of scenario in your uh, problem statement again, like in your actual automation projects where you might have to use these kind of setups. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just put send keys before this buffer value. So I'll put curly brackets send keys square brackets. I'll close the square brackets and close this curly brackets. Okay. So some issue with the statement what I'm giving. Let me just cross check this. So yeah, I have missed an S here and I'll click out of it. So it's a good idea if you're missing a syntax or something is just to take a look at this if it is changing into this format, which is a better view. So it makes sure that your syntax is correct. Okay. Now we'll try this again without the fire event change and see if it is working fine or not. So both the approaches are there. If you want to use fire event, you can use that, or if you want to uh, use send keys, you can use that as well in this particular automation problem. Uh, so see, our problem is solved. Okay. Now this playlist is going to contain a lot of different automation obstacles, and it's a good practice if you want to master your automation skills. So do check out my channel and check all the other videos as well. Thank you very much. I'll put the TSU link as well in some location. I'll share it in the description. uh, but I'm not going to put the starting steps of launching the browser and things like that. So make sure your application is open in this particular case for it to run. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.